Hey, thanks for joining me. Well, let's continue with Divine Right. There seemed to be a little bit of a call for Jim Lee's Divine Right series from the people watching my videos. Once I got done doing All Star Batman, people were like, when are you going to do Divine Right? And I struggled to wonder why so many people were interested in this book. I collected the whole thing because this was an era when I was going to collect anything and everything Jim Lee would do, no matter what. And that era is long since past. Sorry, I'm sitting here as I get making this video, and my little desk here that I draw on, I find all these little pencil shavings and eraser shavings, and it bugs me. And so I'm just going to sit here and just like brush them out of the way right on camera like an absolute amateur chud. Anyway, there was a time when you could not have talked me out of buying a Jim Lee comic book, and now you would have to like force me to do it. And it's mainly because he's drawing DC books and I don't give a shit about that. It's a weird thing for me because I like Batman and I like Jim Lee, but I don't like Jim Lee drawing Batman. It just doesn't appeal to me. There are artists where I will collect their work. It doesn't matter what they're doing. I will collect it even if I'm completely uninterested in the characters and the story. Just for their art, I'll get it. And Jim Lee, back in the 90s, was a god to me. He was just the greatest. And I would collect anything that he did. But I haven't collected anything new from him in years. Because it's just, I don't care for Jim Lee on DC characters. But back in the day, this is, as far as I understand it, this is post Heroes Reborn. After the whole Fantastic Four boredom pile of shit comics that just sucked beyond suck. And I think it's not too far in front of the sale to DC, where he sold his Wildstorm to DC. And he wanted to create a comic, presumably because he wanted to take the opportunity to create an original, completely original story and concept that he writes and does everything himself. No Brandon Choi assistance on scripting or writing or story. It's just story is Jim Lee, pencils are Jim Lee, and then of course he's going to bring with him the best inkers in the business. So I collected it and I could almost tell you nothing about it. There are books I've read that are way older than this, that I can recount the story from memory because it just stuck with me. And this Divine Right shit, nothing. Like nothing. So as I reread them, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. That happened. This is fucking boring. This is cliche. This is uninteresting. It's sad to say. I'm not trying to be the negative guy. It doesn't click with me. But if you dig it, great. I'll just, as always, I can't be anything except who I am and just kind of tell you what I think, and you can agree or disagree. As a cover, I kind of both like this and find it completely boring. I don't mind kind of the basic concept, the layout of the characters. I kind of like the color scheme going on, the pose of theoretical heroic guy with arm in the air and blade on top of some giant monster. I got to shout out that I say this all the time, and I'm sorry if this offends the Jim Lee diehard fans. Jim Lee can draw, absolutely, but his design sense is so boring to me. He adds so much nonsensical, uninteresting stuff to his monsters and his heroic characters' costumes. He has not created anything iconic in his life, in my opinion. I've said this before. It's controversial. It pisses people off. People be like, what about the Cyclops outfit? I'm like, that's just derivative of the classic design he always wore. What about Psylocke? I don't think he designed Psylocke. You could correct me. And if he did design Psylocke, her original Asian assassin outfit, that would be the one that I would give you. People would say, Jim Lee designed Gambit. Yes, Gambit's costume is fucking ridiculous. It is so stupid looking. It doesn't make any sense. It's just a mishmash of shapes and shiny parts and shadowy parts. I hate Gambit's outfit. I like Gambit as a character, but his costume fucking sucks. Anyway, who cares? The design sense on these things is ridiculous, but the kind of pose, I'm kind of fine with it. It's kind of cool. So, I've already covered issues 1 and 2. The basic premise is that there's some kind of computer program that is access to this all-powerful God magic ability called the creation equation that somehow accidentally got downloaded into the hero's brain, Max Faraday. You've got him. You got a bunch of warrior douchebags called the Fallen. You got Agent Christy Blaze. She's just some super badass super soldier. Not a super soldier, like she doesn't have superpowers, although she did die in issue 1 and presumably came back to life as a undead warrior zombie thing in issue 2. So she's kind of a badass, and of course she's hot. And you got Jenny Faraday. It's Max's sister. She's a soldier. She's in the Army Reserve. She's a super hot babe. You have Devin Lawless. He's just the horny sidekick. He's really fucking stupid. And then you got the bad guys called the Wrath. These are some of the dumbest names I've ever heard. In the last issue, Faraday and Devin were delivering pizzas, and then they got attacked by a bunch of monsters, and they defeated the monsters by throwing pizzas at the monsters from the moving car. And no, I am not making that shit up. Again, I'm not attempting to be disrespectful to Jim Lee. I like the guy. I've got nothing negative to say about him as a human being, and he's responsible for some of the funnest, coolest comics I've ever read. But this story, it's trying to be young and hip and cool, and it reads so god-fucking awful. It is just terrible. It sucks. So we start out with a bunch of news reports from the big action fight that happened in the last issue. You know, after the pizza fight defeating monsters, there was a bunch of explosions, and like 3 or 4 different factions of monsters showed up trying to steal Max Faraday away, and they all fought each other. And so there's a bunch of news reports like, holy shit, this is going on. And I've reviewed a lot of comics, a couple recently. I'm always reviewing comics. I do these every day. And whenever I see a comic that just tells us visually what is going on with minimal words, I shout it out as how much I love it. I'm like, we do not have to clutter up these books with all these words. You guys are not that great of a writer. You need Alan Moore to put this much text on a page. So I see this. I'm like, oh, Christ. Here we go. Bunch of exposition dumping. And it's John Lynch. It's the guy who's the leader of Gen 13. So of course he's involved. Of course his shady past working with international operations, the shady government organization that he was part of. So he's got a lot of bad things in his history, and this is connected to one of those things. So he's getting the news reports, so he decides to go into some random room that's a hyper cyberpunk, super futuristic office or something. Who fucking knows? I do like the tech. The tech looks awesome. Jim Lee can draw. You'll never get much of a complaint out of me as far as Jim Lee's art, except for me to say that I like his older shit better. But, of course, all the text is like, he's upset. He thought he could leave this behind. It's horrible. He thought he could run from his past and fix the future. But, you know, his past has caught up with him, and he's a tortured soul. All that cliche shit. You know how Gen 13 had moments of real fun and lightheartedness and joy because J. Scott Campbell was there and making it fun? Well, you suck the fucking life out of it when you have anybody else do it. So he's in his little cyberpunk office, freaked out at the news reports. Someone walks in the room behind him. So, of course, his first natural instinct is to jump up, pull a gun, and threaten to shoot somebody right in the fucking face. And it's Caitlin Fairchild. Holy shit. The one actually interesting character from Gen 13, in my opinion. All the rest of the crew, the kids, went skiing, and she's like, I'm not much of a snow bunny. She literally says that. She's like, so I thought I'd stay behind and give you a hand. And he's like, everything's taken care of. And she basically is like, look, I know you don't trust us with a lot of your history, but I can tell something's wrong. You're disturbed. You need help. I'm here to help you. And so then, again, I feel like in this era, a lot of people have kind of pointed out that Jim Lee was trying to ape and mimic and capture some of the magic of the J. Scott Campbell art. And if he's doing the Gen 13 characters, I mean, you're trying to stay on model with the characters and the versions of them that are interesting, but Jim Lee does not have what J. Scott Campbell has, and vice versa. They've got their own strengths. Jim Lee draws great figures and faces, but the kind of the cutesy, youthful body language that J. Scott Campbell does, Jim Lee doesn't have. And so it feels like an approximation that's probably better than most people could do, but when you've seen this stuff with Gen 13 work really well, it's not working here. But it's kind of fine. She's just like, all right, I want to help you. And he's like, all right, I don't need your help, but she just kind of demands it. And he's like, fine, I guess. I should point out, or I haven't even got there yet. Okay, I was going to mention it in the credits. We'll get to that on the next page. Again, Jim Lee can draw. I wish, I've said this before, whenever he leans into the heavier shadows, I feel like his stuff works a lot better. He draws some of the cutest girls, but Caitlin Fairchild, the kind of cute, youthful kind of energy that Campbell gives her, Jim Lee doesn't have. She's beautiful. She's well drawn. She's cute, but it's not the same. But so giant close up on both of their faces. I know Caitlin Fairchild's supposed to be like a really tall girl because the power she got. She grew really tall and really muscular. She's a pretty big sized girl, but the size relations between this head and that head, I'm just assuming this isn't like two separate images and we're just seeing together. Like this is supposed to be a shot of them in the same kind of image. But her head looks way too big compared to his. And this guy, you could almost just give him a little bit more stubble and age up his face, and he just looks like Wolverine. Who cares? So story and pictures, Jim Lee inks. You've got Scott Williams with Sal Regla, Alex Garner, and JD. That is like, of course, Jim Lee's going to bring the best inkers out there. You know, and it looks all pretty good. There's a couple of places where I'm like, I think this is probably not Scott Williams, because if you follow Jim Lee's art forever, you kind of get a feeling for what their art looks like together, pencils and inks. But where does Sal Regla versus Alex Garner versus JD, where do their inking step in, and can you tell a difference? I don't have an eye for it on that level. I can't say, but it would be interesting if they put the pages on who inked what. I would really, really like to know that personally. But anyway, so it's not the entirety of the Gen 13 crew. It's just Fairchild and Lynch. They're going to get involved. So now we cut back to the Max Faraday story, where at the end of last issue, after they defeated monsters by throwing pizzas at them, the monsters continue to attack. They're incredibly boring monster designs. I've said this, that Jim Lee's monster designs are not interesting. His costumes are not interesting. His monsters, just everything. I am not a fan of his design sense. And this heroic, super big, tough warrior guy, his name is Tobruk. He's got a winged mask and the most boring costume I've ever seen. And weird lightsaber smokestacks coming out of his back. I don't get what all of that is supposed to be. I personally do not find it very interesting. The pose, the double page spread of giant guy punching monsters, it's all composed well. You see the guys in the background here, great destroyed rubble and everything, the city or the sky in the background. The hero punching this way, the monsters being cast to the side, off the page to the right. Like, it's all composed great. It's inked fantastically. The anatomy is big, super heroic awesomeness, but it's also, how can it be all those things and also be boring as shit? If the designs were a little bit more interesting, I don't know. But Tobruk, he showed up and he's like, heed my words, young Faraday. You are the chosen, in big text. And I am sworn to protect you. Stand fast. The minions of the wrath are upon us. You must summon the all-power which you hold if we are to survive this onslaught. Could there be more cliche dialogue? And Max is like, yeah, sure. I'll just start channeling over here. I'll be right there. I'll be right with you. And then there's text from, it's like a log entry from Max Faraday himself. It's more just boring dialogue. But Max, he's trying to wake up his horny sidekick friend. And I I can't remember if I've thought of this or mentioned this before. I'm pretty sure that this Devin guy, I think he's supposed to be like Korean. And I'm like, is this Jim Lee doing a self-insert character? And if so, is the self-insert character a horny, wisecracking sidekick? That's kind of weird. Whatever. He's trying to wake him up because he got his ass knocked out. He's like, dude, Devin, wake up. Jesus Christ, we got to get out of here. Or he's like, no, he says, this nutcase over here thinks I'm Jesus Christ or something. And Devin, he's kind of coming out of it. And he's like, a 2-for-1 lap dance? I'm game, baby. Because remember, he's the horny sidekick. So that's the comedy. And then so Max says, what the hell are you talking about? Get your scrawny Bolgoki butt in gear. Can somebody tell me what the hell that means? Bolgoki. What the hell is Bolgoki? Is it an insult? Is it a slur of some type? What the hell is that? Anyway, wake up. We got to get out of here. And then some of the other monsters, like I was saying in issue 2, like 3 or 4 different factions of monster bad guys showed up. These are the ones who eat people's brains. At least I'm pretty sure. I think these guys showed up and sucked a brain out of this guy's former boss from the pizza place and literally ate his brain on camera. It was a pretty graphic, bloody, kind of disgusting scene. And I was kind of proud of Jim Lee. I'm like, hey, good job. Like, go for it. You like suck a brain out of a guy's head and have a monster eat it. That's outside of the realm of kind of normal shit that Jim Lee does. The monsters show up. They tackle Max Faraday. They're about to eat him. I have to say, I was confused on panel 1 on this next page. I could not make sense of what I was seeing. And it makes sense as you go down into the page, but I'm like, wait, what is going on? I guess what's supposed to be happening is the monster that's about to eat his face gets a knife plunged through his skull, and so he arcs back, and I guess his head explodes because it says Ski Kershroom. And then this guy, this douchebag, jumps through. He kind of looks like magical Doctor Strange Gambit, maybe, because he's got this energy thing that he's charging up. It looks like he's charging up a dagger and throwing it. So he jumps in and says, not this day, defiler. Stay down, Faraday. And Max is like, holy crap. This is great dialogue. So whoever the fuck this dude is, he shows up. Dagger into this monster's face. Now I'm like, I'm sorry, but who the fuck is this monster? Where did this guy come from? It's like Max was just there, waking up his buddy. And then brain-eating monsters show up. And then just behind Max, suddenly there's this, it looks like he's made of stone. Who is this? Where did he come from? Like, I was lost. It's just all these things are showing up. So now there's more of the regular lizard monsters, these boring lizard monsters chasing him along with Stone Creature. And Max is running. I have to give Jim Lee credit for, I guess, attempting to do some different page layouts. You got these odd-shaped panels. This guy's arm is breaking the border over there. And then this panel, like, this is the oddest shaped panel I've ever seen. It comes down from the page here and then cuts across this way. It's almost 2 different panels because this guy gets blown up and Max ducks. And then it's like this is a separate panel here of monsters chasing him and then a separate panel of Max running. The composition and layout does force your eye to follow it this way, you know, following his arm into the next panel, and then the layout of everything and the track of the creature's paths do make you follow it through here. And then you get a bright flashing light here that leads you into the panels and in and out of the page. So compositionally, it draws your eye through the page, so it works. It's a little weird, but it works. But anyway, Max is running. There's a flash of light, and there's a silhouette of something in front of him. Max is running, and he runs right into a face full of tits. Why does this never happen to me? Runs right into the tits of Christine Blaze. There she is. We get, of course, the obligatory ass shot. I'm going to say that this sketchy ink line work up here is not Scott Williams. It doesn't look like his kind of stuff. I'm not saying it's bad, but it doesn't look like Scott Williams. But I would love to know who inked what. But yeah, face full of tits. He's like, whoa, where'd you come from? She's like, the name's Blaze, and the good fairy sent me. And he says, nice set of guns, lady. She says, sure hope you're talking about my weapons, Red, and for the record, I'm no lady. Now get that precious head of yours down on the ground and cover your ears, because this sister's about to rock and roll. I cannot believe I just read that dialogue. That is so fucking bad. That is like the worst dialogue. And of course, again, I'm fine with sexuality in comics. I really am. Face full of tits, and he makes a joke about her guns. She's like, you better not be talking about my hot knockers. You better be talking about my M16s in my hands, buddy. Of course, she's got a cigar and a torn shirt across her midsection, and she's just a super badass. And she's so strong, she can hold with one hand 2 M16s and start firing and say, payback's a bitch, ain't it? Anybody ever held one of these fucking rifles and try to hold it at length out in front of you with one hand? Sure, whatever. It's a comic book. I mean, I've seen Schwarzenegger do it, but come on. Yeah, so stogie-wearing tit girl starts machine gunning monsters, just blowing them away as Max is right here up front with his head in his hands. I kind of actually like that drawing as he's kind of trying to duck out of the way. She continues mowing him down, and Max is running off, and he's like, hey, Red, where do you think you're going? Get back here. We're the cavalry. Another bright flash of light, and then Hot Girl shows up. Other Hot Girl. There's multiple Hot Girls. I forget what the hell the name of this girl is. It'll tell us here in a bit, but she's like, Blaze, the boy, where you let him go? And Christine Blaze says, I was a little preoccupied with these bloodhounds, or haven't you noticed? But don't worry, he can't get far. And so new mysterious magic girl, she says, there is the reason why. So now there's another teleportation portal opening up, and some more creatures are coming out. And Christine Blaze says, oh, fuck, another phalanx unit. Okay. And then this little douchebag, his name is Jestra, Jesthra. He was in the last issue. He literally held his hand out and he literally said, talk to the hand. And I about fucking puked. But he shows up, he talks a bunch of shit. Again, he puts his hand out there, and I guess the ground forms up, and then some giant monstrous bug rock creature just shows up. Just from somewhere. So there's more monsters. Just a whole slew of creatures showing up to kill Max. I guess this is the thing on the cover. Looks like it. So there he is. So new monster shows up. New monster grabs Max, and and Max is saying, "Arg, grip like a vice." And so new magician heroic girl, she's like, remain calm, Faraday. We, the fallen, are here to help you. My holding spell should slow the golem, but not for long. And then Dr. Strange Gambit guy shows up and he says, long enough, my love, for my mystical blade to find its mark. I swear they're just trying to reproduce Chris Claremont X-Men era dialogue. This all reads like they're trying to sound like the X-Men from the classic era when they were really, really awesome. And it just doesn't translate over. But whoever the fuck this guy is, I think his name is Brandy. I think it tells us later. He shows up and I guess he slashes the monster or something. Cuts his arm off, drops Max to the ground. Giant monster, I guess, is going to fall on Max. I'm not really sure. Max is saying, oh, geez, but this is going to feel even worse. I'm toast. And then someone grabs him and pulls him out of the way of falling monster. And look, it's horny sidekick friend. He's like, Devin, I'd be so dead without you, man. I owe you big time. And Devin says, no sweat. It's the least I could do for the chosen one. Come on, let's get out of here while they're all busy killing each other. So Devin and Max are going to try and dip. Meanwhile, back with the heroic guys, you've got Dr. Strange Gambit saying, Tobruk, Exotica. Okay, Tobruk is the big winged mask, lightsaber, smokestack guy. Exotica is hot magician girl. I like that drawing. It's got all the things I want. Hot girl, dynamic pose, dynamic hands, flowing capes, lots of skin, tits, tummy, ass. Hell, she's even got a belly piercing that's literally connected to like a chain, like the kind of chain you tow your own car with. I kind of actually like that. That's a solid drawing. That kind of stands out. But her name is Exotica. Okay. He says, pull back and watch our flanks. The chosen one is fleeing. And of course, Tobruk is what? Run from battle? Of course, you got to have like the warrior guy. He's like, no one runs from battle. And so Exotica says, Brandy is right. So his name is Brandy. We have no choice, Tobruk. Our first duty is to protect the chosen one. I shall create a wall of mist so that we may elude our attackers. Okay. So Max and Devin are like stumbling away. And Devin is saying, where the hell did this fog come from? And Max says, damn it, I just sprained my ankle. God, I wish we were home. And then boom, as soon as he said, I wish we were home, blink of an eye, they're at home. They're like, holy shit, what just happened? Max is looking at his hand. There's a symbol, like a sigil on his hand. And so they just kind of like laugh it off, like, well, all right, well, I mean, at least we're here now, and we're back home, and the door's busted open from the fight that happened earlier. Devin starts almost feeling like he's going to puke for some reason, presumably because they teleported. I don't know if this is going to come up and get explained later. Max goes inside, and their room is still blown up. As he walks inside, a couple of hands and a gun gets put to his head, and it's his sister, Jenny Faraday. She's freaked out because she just witnessed all the craziness that went on. And she's like, holy shit, Max, it's you. I'm so glad you're back. The creatures showed up after you left. They trashed the place. They were looking for some computer file. I hid from them as long as I can, but I scared them off with some shots. So Max hugs his sister, and of course, horny sidekick. He's like, hey, he's not the only one. I'm in pain over here, too. I need a hug. But he's still feeling queasy. He's still going to puke. And Jenny thanks Devin for like looking out for her brother. And he's always trying to get in Jenny's pants. So would I. And they're like, well, this is crazy. And anyway, they all stop and look because at the door, there is Lynch and Caitlin Fairchild. Lynch says, busy night, son. I guess it's safe to assume that you're Max Faraday. And Devin, being the comic relief, he says, just who are you, Scully and Mulder? It's so great. It's so funny. And then Jenny, she says, Devin, isn't she the girl in those photos that you're always downloading from the internet? Kathleen Carlisle or something like that. And Lynch is like, her name is Caitlin Fairchild. Mine is unimportant. Max is saying, don't tell me. You could tell us, but then you'd have to kill us, right? And Lynch is like, yeah, something like that. Okay, so then horny, humorous sidekick starts trying to hit on Fairchild. He's like, hey, don't mind him. Max is just kidding around. And Fairchild's like, well, my friend wasn't. And so they chat back and forth for a second, but then Devin, again, for like the third time, threatens to puke and actually does. Like, he almost pukes here, he almost pukes here, and then he actually pukes here. I hope he's dying of cancer or something. I'm sorry, cancer is not funny. I just want this guy to die. He pukes on the floor, and so Lynch and Fairchild are just looking, and she's like, God, your last name wouldn't happen to be Chang, would it? Are you sure this is the right address, Mr. Lynch? And Lynch says, I told you this could get a little messy. Get it? It's funny. It's messy because he puked. And she's making reference to douchebag puking is just like grunge from Gen 13. The end. To be continued. Fascinating story. Oh, wait, look, there's more. Epilogue. The Himalayan mountains. Yi Zinzu has lived here his entire life. In that time, he has climbed to the top of Mount Everest. But today, he is making an ascent even more dangerous than that most famous climb. Blah, 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 blah. He's on his way to go do a thing. I gotta say, artistically, this snowy scene and this, like, path that he's walking on the sides of the mountain, this little kind of hidden step and this trail, this path up to this weird castle in this snowy mountain. I love this art. I think this stuff looks fantastic. The colors complementing it really well. Feels really epic. It feels huge. It feels really organic. I think it looks fantastic. This is great. And so whoever the fuck this guy is, he opens up the door. He's got his big giant furry coat on. Looks really good. Opens up a door and walks into a room and looks, and there's a hot naked girl. I was saying in the last issue, like, Jim Lee never draws nude figures, and Last issue and this one, he's kind of proven me wrong. Got to have a little sheer see-through. Like, look, this is one of those things artistically that bug the shit out of me. First off, great figure. It's very much a Jim Lee hot girl, you know, in a ridiculously hot, sexy pose, but that's the entire point. But we have her pointed away so we don't get to see her boobs or her front parts. I get it. We're going to have her back. So we're going to have her bare ass, but we're going to drape this sheer robe over her to cover her butt, to give it the kind of fake indication that we're not really looking at anything that is a nude figure. It's just not there because it's covered. But when it's this fucking obvious, why fucking bother in the first place? It just stands out as so stupid. You drew the figure undressed. Just lose this fucking this sheet you're throwing over her when it's completely see-through. Grow a fucking set of testicles and just put her bare ass there. What is the difference? It's just this like, it's like the pretentious kind of hint that we're being classy. We're covering it up. It's just the hint of it. No, it's not. You see it completely. Anyway, it's hot girl with interesting colored hair and kind of cool tattoos surrounded by other hot BDSM babes. Guy hands over a message and she reads it and then she kisses him and sucks his life force out of him and says that this is awesome. And she gets on the phone and makes a call and says, we're back into action. And I'm like, well, who the hell is this? It doesn't say, except that she gets on the phone and refers to her sisters and she has a dot on her forehead. And I'm like, oh God, are these like the Coda from the Wildcats? Like Zealot and all those characters? Are we really getting back into the fucking boring Coda characters from Wildcats? I get that Jim Lee wants to put these characters into his Wildstorm universe, but just create all new things. But he's brought in Gen 13. He's presumably bringing in the Coda. It's just turning into a Wildcats comic, and I don't care. Anyway, and then that's the end of the story. So I am not particularly moved or thrilled. The art, you know, it's Jim Lee. It's always going to be pretty good, even when it's kind of boring. Still pretty damn good. And there's a couple of moments where the art's like, that looks really fantastic. Story-wise, it's just, no, I'm not interested. Just stop it, please. Not doing it for me. But, you know, again, maybe you love it. Well, let's see. This thing goes for like 12, 13, 14 issues, something like that. I don't remember exactly. It goes on for quite the stretch. We'll see if it gets any better. Like I said, I don't remember a lot about the story and where it goes. I just remember I don't remember anything about it. And so to me, that means it doesn't get any more interesting. So I guess we'll see. But Divine Right, number 3, Mauricio Vargas, this is for you, buddy. He's one of my guys who follow me on my channel. He's always harping on me to do more Divine Right. Well, there you go, brother. It's all for you. Divine Right, number 3. There it is. That's all I got. Thanks for watching. See you next time.